Oh, poo, 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 poo.
Whew, good thing I sold most of my jewelry. Easy now.
See
Wow!
now what the flame has
The Court of
shown us?
Penitents, Brave Yaman, a prison for souls, and a temple dedicated to Urika. This fine layout was first put in place by Matt Perez, one of the designers that joined Obsidian to work on Pillars of Eternity. The render itself was handled, I think, expertly by April Giroux. This location became really important to the main story as its development progressed. Originally, it was just supposed to be its own temple detached from Burial Isle, to which you travel after arriving to Twin Elms. As it often happens in game development, though, the realities of the tight schedule prompted us to move it to Burial Isle, making it part of Wurika's temple and placing it right next to an underground shortcut that lets you discover the buried city of Sun and Shadow.
Anscheinend. Anscheinend. Da. Da. Anscheinend.
And the fire shows me something new.
That didn't work. Onward!
Yes.
Lava. And what does the flame reveal? That's settled.
Let's try that again. Onward!
Yes. Yes.
Step lightly.
Yes.
Something over there.
Oh, and if I find something good, you can have half.
Nice and quiet.
I'm here.
Margaren's fire casts light in dark places. Fire casts light in dark places. That's settled.
Вау. Заря.
I'll see what's ahead. I'm on the trail.
I shall be discreet.
Easy now.
Zala is ready.
Onward! Settle!
I'm here.
Whew, good thing I sold most of my jewelry.
A simple test.
Onward!
А такое себе.
Yes. Let's keep quiet.
Почти финал, наконец-то. Почти финал. Очень долгая игра. Ой. Это охуенно.
My old pupil. You are so different now from who you were then. Yet much I'd hoped after our last discussion you would find what you... I can only guess your presence here has something to do with Theos. After all this time, he would still stand against the tide. I will tell you what I remember. I can see his influence. It was just after the trial. You were agitated. That the gods aren't real.
I'd dreaded the idea from the moment the Delimgon suggested it.
Perhaps not to her. Many are the...
That doesn't seem possible.
What I taught was that the gods whose faith we had been spreading were not... They were conceived by Engwyth, a society of high minds and broad concerns. Generation after generation, they prodded and worked the stitching of the world and unlocked... It shook them, this finding. If they could discover this on their own, how long until others would? How long before war and chaos? I never thought of it as faith. But I think you are right. I became a missionary because the gods brought me hope that I wanted to bring to others. For a time, the truth sent me to a dark place. The Engwythan missionaries all knew it, but they never told the rest of us. They meant it to be. You asked me this once before. Nothing I can. Everyone faces this truth at one time or another. Few could. What if it were forbidden knowledge rather than fault that.
I have seen with my own eyes the deceptions of my goddess.
You speak of her deceptions, but what of your own? Was it her words that led you down your path? What if you had always been alone?
Well, as poorly as I've chosen my guides, I suppose.
The freedom has always been. What if our burdens come to us not because they are meant to be?
All the more reason to cast them off. We have no guarantees beyond.
What if some things can never be recovered, and no greater good?
Their existence can be forgotten. They are no less valuable.
The world marches forward without so much as a backward glance. What if no god had the authority to?
Are the gods any less important because we created them? If what we're saying is true, people made the gods because they needed forgiveness. For the first time in decades, I feel whole.
Power it may have been, but not.
It's the trials, Watcher, that make us what we are.
Yet strength is not given, but earned. And always, I ask these things not to trouble you, but to show why they must be confronted. No answer is simple. But somewhere between them all lies a truth so beautiful, not even a god could conceive it. Do we not owe ourselves a chance? That is the thinking that has shaped the... I've been alone here with my thoughts for so long now. I need to know why you chose to remain with the Inquisition, even after you'd learned the truth. Do you remember? So you never doubted, despite everything I'd told you? Or perhaps... You were a blank slate to me once. A blank slate that I had taught the wrong. You had heard both sides, seen everything. If not you, then who? I'm aware of the folly of trying to learn so much from so little. Even knowing what you've told me, some part of me knows it doesn't truly answer what I wished to know. And what of your understanding of our past? Are you at ease with the choice you made? There is nothing to forgive. The fault was always mine. I led you down the path that led. At first I thought this might be the source of your soul's anguish. But now I see I was mistaken. Yet if there is anything I can tell you that would be of use, ask and you shall know, in a matter of speaking. This is Braeth Yamen, the court of the penitents. Souls are confined. This prison was full once in the days of the Inquisition. But time weathers all things, even will. I'm the only tenant who remains. They aid you because they would bend you to... But these souls, last time someone asked me that, I was bound to the gods need to be... I could not say for sure. But you have been to Sun and Shadow before. His words mattered to you when you knew him then. After you and I spoke, you went immediately to seek him out. Perhaps you simply sought confirmation from the man you trusted. He cares only for the secret he keeps locked away. That's why he's always favored Woodica. It isn't in her love of promises or justice. It's her disregard for the rules. If Theos succeeds, there will be a shift in the balance of power among the gods. Woodica was... You will not find a more resolute being on all of Eora. There is no offer you could make, nor spell... you might learn something from him. In a matter, this prison was full one. Better to, but these souls. In a matter, this prison was full one. They ate, but these souls. Theos will not wait for you. If you do not catch up to him now, you may never find him again. If I repent, all I have done. For my part in leading you to Theos, if ever we should meet again, in this life or.
Let's keep quiet.
That's it!
Let onward!
Of course.
Now this I haven't seen before.
Let's keep quiet.
So, it's true. The gods are a sham that people have followed for thousands of years.
Look at that.
I'll take a look.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we note a rather sharp drop somewhere around here?
Присеем, что мы можем. Ого.
Full of surprises, aren't you?
We light our own path now, Watcher.
I don't suppose you could make a few bridges the same way, hmm?
Whoa.
I shall be discreet.
We've been lied to. Our whole lives, and many lives before that. And it's led us to put our faith in a pantheon of gods that never deserved it in the first place. You're right. People will be better off finding direction on their own than following this farce. I've also been thinking, there won't be much left of Theos by the time you're done with him, if I know how you operate. That will leave the leaden key headless. Perhaps it's best it stays that way. Then let's face Theos. When this is all over...
I will walk unseen.
Nice and quiet.
Not a sound. Not a sound.
Алмаз. Лежит. О! Пас.
That's not very helpful.
Что это?
Dead on.
I shall be discreet.
See now what the flame has shown us?
Not a sound. Not a sound.
Oh, and if I find something good, you can have half.
Light, flame, and sound. We'll keep
Бля, не то. Надо урон.
Let's keep quiet.
Let's try
Let's keep quiet.
Nice and quiet.
Whew, good thing I sold most of my jewelry.
light, flame, and sound. Light, flame, and sound. We'll keep to ourselves.
Step lightly.
That's
Dead on!
Step lightly.
Light, flame, and sound. We'll keep to ourselves. Light, flame, and sound. We'll keep to ourselves.
I'm on the trail.
Margaret's fire casts light in dark.
Easy now.
Че сюда нельзя спуститься? Не понял. Да можно. Когда финал? Алло. Габен. О. Вот этот камень. Вот.
I shall be discreet.
Вот и финал долгожданный. Солнце в тени. Механизм.
Easy now.
Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen? I am trusting you to remain loyal to the gods in this. If you do not, you will have greater powers than me to answer to. But you will answer to me as well.
О.
Yes?
I shall be discreet.
I shall be discreet.
I'll see what's ahead.
Margaren's fire casts light in dark. And what does the flame reveal?
I'll see what's ahead.
This is a missionary, same as I was, taught the wrong things as I was. Oceanus. They have held off many would-be invaders.
You are ready to give a confession?
I am ready to hear one from you.
Not a sound.
I'll see what's ahead.
Сколько? Его опыт 30 тысяч. Вау. Я все квесты выполнил, по факту. Все квесты. И основную сюжетную закрыл. Вау. It's good. It's good. Эй, я хотел... Вот он и вышел. Телепортировался, точнее.
You are far from your post, Inquisitor. What brings you here? We are in a sanctum holy to Utica. There are others. That woman sought only to destroy the foundations. It has many uses. They are monuments to Utica's greatest servants. The Inquisition was... What is a god? A higher power? A rewarder of good deeds and punisher of the wicked. Something men can turn to in their darkest moments. We are in a sacred place within earshot of the gods themselves. This is not the time. You've been through much. You will return home and you will rest. When you feel you have recovered, you may rejoin us at the trial. There are many who continue to spread the lies of the...
Он биться со мной будет? У него ножики какие-то.
How did you find it?
Атаковать? Блин, если он меня обманул, то может атаковать его? Давай его атаковать будем. Ну реально, ну 1 на 1 чисто.
Another in a string of acts of petty defiance. For all her knowledge, she always preferred spite over reason. That woman did more in her misery than most accomplish with their clear, ignorant minds. If only she had obeyed. Such a waste of rare talent and intellect. What of your cohorts, then? They have followed you to their deaths. You built a weapon that delivered exactly as...
I served my goddess, and
Yet the other builders were slain.
whatever desire I had to be redeemed.
Or was it merely that your goddess wanted...
A whore's beguiling charms, nothing more. But the spell's broke now.
You were able to destroy a god because another... State your name and purpose, young...
My name belonged to the gods in my hand,
You serve none but yourself. Without
and I should have done it years before.
And that uncertainty would lead you where it leads. You are far from home.
I knew my hunt would send me a long way.
A journey, then. It must be of some
It's important to Masuk.
I am told you are the last of a...
As are you.
But my line will continue unbroken. My people entrusted me with their wisdom.
My line is not ended while I still breathe.
Your master's knowledge was already lost to the... And the lost gift bet.
Last I checked, the Ingwithans didn't make...
There is no greater calling than the spread and...
Then you haven't been looking hard enough.
Or perhaps I have... You are here because you are lost. The gods cannot reach. I gather you have had your soul awakened. Why else would you shadow my footsteps like some stray mongrel? You think I have something to offer you, but our business was concluded long ago.
Он меня заебал, если честно. Я его хочу убить.
Hear me, Woodika.
Ну?
Rock 10!
Ой-ой-ой. А так нечестно. Вот так нечестно. Вообще-то. Это нечестно.
Aye?
Enough of this. That's it!
И пауза. Какой ты молодец.
Just like old times.
Zawa.
Вот и все. Игра окончена, братан.
That's the servant down, and the mistress.
After journeying for lifetimes,
He spent his lives. More than any of us will ever.
This man held to the world harder than any I have known.
Can't help but feel sorry for him. To live so.
There is nothing left.
Light, flame, and sound. We'll keep to ourselves.
slow and silent.
О, хотят все со мной поговорить.
Lead the way.
Давай поговорим. Привал сделаем.
Tell me. I thought I'd seen it all. I won't forget any of this. I'm here. I thought I'd seen. I won't.
Zawa is. You inherited the snares of another lifetime. It must feel good to be free of them. You no longer have Theos to begin. The Deerwood has suffered greatly, but now is the time to end it, to allow the wounds to heal. Zawa is ready.
Yes? Astounding. I always knew the Leaden Key stood for something big, but I didn't quite realize. But even if you send the souls somewhere specific now, who knows what the next turn of the wheel will make of them? We can't really control what happens to them. Nor should we try. I had to see the monster Theos had become to realize that. It's your decision, of course. And whatever you decide, I'm glad our paths crossed in Gilded Vale. Aye? Astounding. But even if you send the soul, it's your decision.
The end of the road greets us at last. You fared well, Watcher. Better than any Watcher has right to. Would that my own trial had produced such an outcome. I had figured my...
Ready, Watcher. Never thought I'd see something like this in my travels. Lends a little perspective. It's a bitter thing to have come so far only to find that it was all for nothing. Somehow, I don't think we're any better off, knowing what... I'd probably still be twiddling my thumbs by the side of the road if you hadn't come along. Thanks for bringing us this far.
Пожалуйста. Пожалуйста.
Yes.
А нас убили наконец-то. Ну жестко было, жестко. Но он не особо сильный. Такой лайтовый.
You know something of quiet servitude, Watcher. Groveling and simper. You have labored at the pleasure of others. That shriveled hag in Hadrat House. And now the gods give you orders and commands, even while you set out to fix. The exiled queen is finish the work Theos began. Strengthen Woodica with these souls and allow her to become the most powerful of all the gods, with you as her favored. And one you will have many lifetimes.
Margaren's fire casts light in dark places.
Игра пройдена. Получено достижение. Отлично. Ура! Прошли игру.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun and Shadow, and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Deerwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the souls diverted by Theos were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of hollow-born children woke to the cries of their infants, and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Helia or Magren, or even Aethys for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief. For many thousands of Hollowborn had died during Wide One's legacy, many by their parents' own hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Helia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the year of Helia's splendor. The loss of the souls you had promised to Entropy would be no setback to Remergand, nor to Andra, for the Beast of Winter trudges ever forward, and the will of the Lady of Lament is as unstoppable as the tide. In Deerwood, the weather quickly chilled. Unseasonable frosts destroyed the year's harvests before giving way to the coldest winter in memory. Many who survived the famine would soon freeze to death in their own homes. The oceans proved no safer. A barrage of squalls pounded the harbors along the Deerwooden coast for months, sending many ships to be forever lost in the depths of Andra's domain, either mourned or forgotten, both to the lady's liking. It is said that Galawain is the enforcer of the gods, and is known to hunt down those who wrong them. To wrong Galawain, then, is truly to wake the beast, and the father of monsters took great umbrage at your broken promise to him. Along with Mogren and Abidan, Galawain embarked upon a more direct approach to claiming his quarry. In the months that followed, the frontier settlements of Deerwood were inexplicably attacked by packs of beasts and monsters, suddenly organized and unafraid to approach Kith on their own land. Many such villages were all but destroyed by the time troops could be dispatched from local garrisons. Those that weren't destroyed by the beasts of Galawain often found themselves at the mercy of the fires of Mogren. A dry spell throughout Deerwood led to a rash of forest fires on a scale not seen since the War of Black Trees, and many settlements paid the price for their proximity to the wilderness. In the cities, meanwhile, dabblers in animancy who had placed souls into golems and other moving vessels soon found that their creations had risen up against them. Such constructs terrorized their surroundings, killing indiscriminately and often in great numbers before being subdued. Followers of Bereth have a saying that life is a debt all must pay in death, and their god is known to always collect what is owed. In breaking your word to Bereth, a debt was created. Souls were owed to the cycle, and the agents of the god of inevitability would not be refused. An epidemic of unexplained deaths struck Deerwood in the days that followed the legacy. Most often, the dead would be travelers on the road, known to be a favorite target of Bereth's pallid knight, who exacts impossible tolls from those who have journeyed for too long. The elderly, too, seemed to pass on in alarming numbers. But just as often, the deaths appeared to strike randomly, and for no reason at all. Those who sensed the involvement of the twinned god dubbed the calamity Bereth's Price, supposing it a payment for the end of Widewind's legacy. Lord Radric's zeal had brought him back to life once, but it would not do so again. Radric's destruction at your hands spelled the end of his suffocating rule over Gilded Vale and the surrounding area. In his absence, the village prospered, becoming a popular destination for new settlers anxious to leave Defiance Bay after the riots. Without a nearby ruler, it also grew more wild, with many settlers moving on as soon as they'd arrived, turned off by lawlessness that was excessive even by Deerwooden standards. Nevertheless, despite the challenges of living there, Gilded Vale had survived, and would continue to survive for the foreseeable future. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wolfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But once the dozens had regrouped in the wake of the riots, they quickly put an end to the criminal activity. They patrolled the streets in droves and administered their brand of law on any perceived offenders. This was not the erratic justice of the mob, however. The dozens had taken to heart the strengths of their adversaries, the Knights of the Crucible, and emerged as a far more organized, disciplined force. With the waning strength of the other Defiance Bay powers, the leadership of the dozens took the opportunity to establish its own group as the dominant peacekeeping force in the city. The dozens would soon find themselves overwhelmed by the problems of a leaderless metropolis. But they found an uneasy new partner in the surviving forces of the Crucible Knights, who understood the city's infrastructure and were able to keep the worst of its problems under control. Though the machine atop Ter Noaneth had been disabled, it had not seen its last use. Heritage Hill was rebuilt, and no sooner had the first families moved in to resettle the district than members of the Leaden Key, acting under standing orders from their Grand Master, climbed the tower and reactivated the machine. the initiate slew a handful of the new settlers under cover of night and watched as history repeated itself, the victims reanimating and devouring the survivors. After this second incident, the district would remain abandoned. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay. But those who had escaped the melee and the palace hearings remembered the testimonies of the strange guest who had shown up that day and absolved animancy, implicating the leaden key instead. The rumor spread quickly, and soon the popular belief was that the assassin had been a leaden key spy. When the legacy had lifted, people came to see it not as a sign that the riots had been according to the gods' wishes, as Theos had hoped, but as a confirmation that animancy had never been the source of the problem in the first place. Deerwoodans instead convinced themselves that the riots had somehow purged Defiance Bay of leaden key spies, and that the end of Widewind's legacy was their well-deserved reward. The rage against animancers was quickly forgotten, and those who had survived were permitted to return to Brackenbury Sanitarium and rebuild it so they might resume their studies. The town of Deerford had seen the last of the cult of Scan. Dark rumors about the town's many curses quickly faded, and travelers soon returned. Abidon's renewal brought new vigor and purpose to a god long known for quiet, steady labor. Handicraft saw a revival in the Deerwood, and no smith wanted for an apprentice. Additionally, Abidon's restored interest in preservation led to redoubled efforts to survey Engwithan ruins. Animancers and craftsmen alike found much to study, but tensions with Air Glanfath rose. As for Stalwart, the Battle of Caron's Scar only strengthened their resolve to unlock the mysteries of Durgan steel and build new marvels with the White Forge. However, Stalwart's ambitions brought them into further conflict with the Raid Serens, as more and more impoverished communities gathered at the border and vowed to finish the work of the Iron Flail. It would be many generations before the region saw peace. The battle against the Eyeless left Stalwart more hostile than ever toward the ogres in its midst, and the villagers grew bolder as they grew more prosperous. After a handful of bloody skirmishes, the Flames That Whisper clan left the Russet Wood to seek a quieter, more isolated home in the White March.
А медведь, что ли?
While many
С
such
дубиной.
places existed in the mountains, the crossing was treacherous, and the ogres often found themselves embattled with other clans whose territory they passed. Less
Медведь с
than
дубиной.
half of the Flames That Whisper survived the journey, but those that did found a haven far from Kith lands. Harmka's death had brought the Devil of Carrick little satisfaction. In time, her taste for vengeance soured. What replaced it was a hunger to feel something, anything, new. Summer had thinned the snowpack twice over when she felt the joint at her elbow first begin to stiffen. She turned her back on the hopes of animancy and civilization and walked east. She pushed through the mountains, past Raid Ceres, and into the broad plains of Ishamiddle. She had forgotten what it was like to simply journey, no goal or destination in mind. Though she felt nothing more than the steady thump of her feet on the road, the endless horizons and grassy meadows were new to her. She measured her time in the gradual rusting of her body and was satisfied. Her movements slowed, but so did the world around her. Waist-high grasses undulated and tacked in the wind, as gradual as the tides. Sparrows and blackjays made steady pilgrimages across the sky, each flap of their wings a solemn salute. She could hardly move when she found something she had never seen before, the ocean. With the last of her strength, she pulled herself beneath the water, content at last to feel the movement of currents and the constant caress of the waves. Zawa came to peace with the loss of his master's knowledge and decided instead to start anew. He traveled back to Coldflow Lake, where the Monastery of the Thousand Dreams remained empty. There, he founded a new order with a new philosophy based upon his own experiences and unusual beliefs. Would-be disciples traveled great distances to learn from the old master, and in time, they took disciples of their own. Free from the burden of her memory, Maneha soon left the gift-bearers and resumed adventuring. Now that she had a taste for the world, she wanted to experience it anew. Maneha rediscovered her zest for battle, extravagance, and romance. She kept her gaze on the horizon, looking from one journey to another more distant, from the lover in her arms to another more fervent. Hers was a life of excitement, violence, and passion. She moved too quickly for regret to catch up with her, and she hoped only that she might outpace it in the next life as well. The fortress of Cadnua emerged as a bastion of security in the midst of an untamed land, becoming the envy of every thane and earl in Deerwood. Legend grew over time of its impregnability, and stories of formidable invaders easily scattered by the keep's defenses became popular around the hearths of Deerwoodinians. Likewise, it also became a beacon to travelers, merchants, and visiting dignitaries alike. Reputed as the finest fortress in all Deerwood, people would journey from near and distant lands alike to experience its fabled hospitality and grandeur. After the death of the master below, a strange quiet fell over the endless paths of Adnua. The attacks on the fortress above ceased, Adnua's silent titan the closest remaining thing to a master in its musty, forgotten passages. Palagina had gone against the Duke Spell's orders by inventing a new trade arrangement with the Anamenfath to accommodate the recovering Deerwooden market. With the Deerwood's people still weakened by Weidman's legacy, the Valian republics easily pushed their would-be competitors out of the market. For her outrageous insubordination and audacity, Palagina
Вот так.
to those in her care, her strange appearance made her feel like an outsider wherever she went. Haravius took his leave of the party and, after his first bath in years, returned to his nomadic lifestyle. With his homesickness expunged, he found renewed joy and tranquility in his wandering survey of the wilderness. For the first time in his life, he ventured beyond sight of the mountains of Glonfath. During his travels, he penned numerous journals and sketches detailing his travels through frozen tundra, searing desert, and tropical forests. Wherever he went, Haravius left behind stories of the Autumn Druid, a temperamental, one-eyed wise man of the forest, known to bring food to lost travelers and unusual advice to anyone willing to ask him a question. Adair chose not to return home to Gilded Vale. Through a number of quiet inquiries, he soon found his way into the underground organization of Aethasians known as the Night Market. Ironically, in learning that the gods had been fabricated, Adair found his faith in Aethus renewed, and that his god was neither alive nor truly a god had become irrelevant. He rose quickly through the ranks of the Night Market for his optimism and for his bold leadership, his ultimate goal to make the Deerwood a place that would welcome followers of the Shining God once again. When the dust settled in Sun and Shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Theos Ixarchanon, his former master. He saw where the Grand Master had gone wrong and what would be required to undo the harm Theos had wrought. With a flick of his wrist, he burned Theos's robe, headdress, and every other symbol of the man's power. Never again, he vowed, should Kith live in fear and blind obedience to an authority they did not understand. Armed with the knowledge and courage he had gained on his journeys with the Watcher, he set out on the long and lonely task of dismantling the Leaden Key. With the Watcher's goals accomplished and his own vows fulfilled, Kanorua sailed back toward Rawatai, thinking on the lessons his travels had provided him. By the time he landed at Tekoa, he understood what his path must be. Standing before the Lore College, Kanorua explained that the tablet he sought had been destroyed, and so a true interpretation of the Tonvi Oratoa could no longer exist. The people of Rawatai would have to create their own. He described the many strange things he had seen in his travels, and announced his intent to pursue the accumulation of knowledge abroad, seeking answers to new questions. True to his word, Kana soon set sail on yet another expedition, and in Tekoa, his passionate accounts inspired many to follow in his footsteps. With Theos defeated and the souls released from Sun and Shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Deerwood. The grieving mother sought a place where she might do penance for the birthing bell. She returned to Deerford, where, to the astonishment of the villagers, she delivered the first healthy child in over a decade. She remained there, and with each new birth, she saw a measure of hope restored to the Deerwood and a measure of grace for her own troubled past. Durrance used Magrin's strength only until Theos had been cast from the world, and then swore off her influence entirely. Regret came to weigh heavily on his mind, and a man who had never previously lacked for words or opinions came to embrace silence and contemplation. He continued to wander, penniless and destitute, searching now not for the reason for his goddess's silence, but for a mechanism for revenge. The charred robes he continued to wear as a reminder that he had been burned by his goddess, and not just by the flames of the Godhammer. In her 4-month journey back to Nositoc, Sagani found that the landscape she traveled had become strangely colorless, the food bland and unsatisfying. She watched the Deerwood, Air Glonfoth, the Valian Republics, and the lands beyond slide by with a dull sense of dread. She returned home to great celebration, yet the words of joy and congratulations rang hollow to her. Old beloved songs sounded toneless. The rituals of changing seasons became drudgery, and Sagani experienced her life back in Masuk as if in someone else's skin. So she fought to feel the worth of her actions, or at least to let her village feel them. She led ever longer and more ambitious hunts, mentoring the younger rangers who followed her. On one such expedition, her party was beset by a blizzard, and she pressed on where her companions turned back. She did not return to Masuk. For you, the death of Theos brought an end to your waking visions, and a silence to the whispers of the past. In their absence, you were able to sleep. The questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. But at the moment, there was little to be done, and the matter would have to wait. A long journey loomed ahead.
Подожди, а про меня? А про меня ничего не сказали, получается, да? Ну, блядь. Ну, что я могу сказать по поводу игры? Игра? Вот игра. Охуенная, реально. Игра мне понравилась, честно, вот так есть. Я ее долго проходил, очень долго, может 2 месяца, 2,5, почти 3 там. О, игра охуенная, блядь, и РПГ, и диалоги, просто куча диалогов надо читать. Это, конечно, минусок, но, блядь, игра охуенная по всем параметрам. Оптимизация, в принципе, хорошая. Диалоги, в принципе, хорошо написаны. Геймплейные составляющие тоже хороша. Хороша. В принципе, все заебись в этой игре. Ну реально. Просто классная игруха. Вот она мне реально понравилась. Фотка 32. Давай на 8. Ну, короче, все в игре классно. Можно поставить смело. Я думал не ставить 10 из 10. Но потом уже дошел до финала и все-таки поставлю игре, лично от меня на стриме 10 из 10. Вот. Чисто 10 из 10, по-другому я не могу поставить. Игра, ну, кайфовая, реально, рекомендую. Кто любит, как это, РПГшки вот эти, то рекомендую. Есть из 10, тут как бы ничего не сказать. В принципе, хорошая, добротная игруха, реально. Денег своих она стоит, реально. Денег своих стоит. Поэтому покупайте. Не реклама, не проплачено. Все нормально. Берите, не пожалеете. Реально классная игруха. Ну стоящая. Поэтому да. Даже ничего не сказать. Ну, блядь, охуенная игра. По факту. Ну, по факту, да, охуенная. Жалко, что я в те года, которые она там хайповала, не поиграл в нее, но вот 23-й год, 07-й, 04-й, 23-й год, я в итоге в нее поиграл. Спустя сколько времени? Да хуище времени. Но я все-таки сыграл в нее. Надо будет как-нибудь там в 2045 году пройти вторую часть, я думаю. Задает ко мне. Это все. Я поиграю обязательно во вторую часть. Поэтому классная игруха, базара нету. Атмосфера, как бы 100% атмосфера. Реально в игре прям, ну все классно. Все, ну даже доебаться не к чему. Там были моментики, но, блядь, ну я ж не буду за каких-то мелочей, там, допустим, доебываться. Ну реально кайфовая. Реально. Просто пиздатая. Пиздатая. Вот и все. Вот мы и прошли игру. В принципе, классная игра. Да. Спасибо, кто был. Мне кажется, никто не был под конец уже. Потому что нахуй кому я нужен? Нахуй я. Правильно. Поэтому я до финала только один я дожил, и все, больше никто не дожил. Ну, слишком долгая игра. Но классно, я люблю всегда долгие игры. Поэтому всем удачи. Пока. Увидимся в следующих прохождениях. Да. Всем ББ. ББ. Да.